EA Sports has dropped a bunch more Madden ratings, and some of these are pretty wild, so buckle up, we're gonna go over all of them right now. So let's start out with the running backs. Always a very heavily debated position, even though nobody in the NFL seems to want to pay them anymore. Now, Nick Chubb's coming in at the top rated spot at 97, which I think is right. I think he's been the best back the past couple years. Obviously, you got a few other guys that are in that conversation, but Nick Chubb has been kind of a model of consistency. He's very good at breaking tackles, very high yards per carry, just a guy that really has not shown much weakness as a runner. Now, Christian McCaffrey is a guy we know is always in those top few spots. Even when he's had a lot of years with injury, they don't really seem to dock him as much as they do other guys. He's coming in at a 96 overall, and he still is the best dual threat in the league. Obviously, you got guys like Eckler and Kamara that are also really good, but McCaffrey is still definitely the best dual threat back, and he was really good once he went over to the Niners last year. He looked still like his old self, so I don't really have too much of a problem with that. Josh Jacobs had his best year by far. He comes in at a 95. I saw some people kind of debating this, that they didn't like Derrick Henry being under Josh Jacobs. Derrick Henry's still one of the best in the league, if not the best. He can still be argued, I think, as the best. Obviously, he was injured the year before, but he bounced back last year, so I don't have a huge problem with this top five. Saquon Barkley had a really big bounce back year as well. I do think 93 feels a little low, though. I think he should be like 94, 95, but I'm not really having a problem with the top five guys. Maybe the order in which you want to shuffle some of them around, we could say that. Then getting into the next group of guys, we got Austin Eckler at 89, Jonathan Taylor at an 89. He kind of had a bit of a setback last year, whereas the year before he was, arguably the best in the league the year before. So we'll see if he bounces back. I think he'll be back in the 90s for sure. Then we have Aaron Jones and Tony Pollard at an 88. Tony Pollard getting some love, and Joe Mixon at an 87. So that's your top 10 guys. I do think Joe Mixon's kind of a guy that I've always felt he's been a little underrated in the game, but let's jump over to the next group of guys here, and we have Kenneth Walker, who's also at 87, so really him and Mixon are tied for the 10th spot, and he's a second-year guy. He was really good as a rookie. He was really close to winning Rookie of the Year. He was kind of right there with Garrett Wilson. Then we got Alvin Kamara at an 86, tied with Miles Sanders, and I'm a Saints fan, so I'm biased, but I feel like he's way too low. Now, granted, the last couple years, he hasn't had the numbers exactly how he did in prior years, but I mean, you got to look at the situation. They've had bottom QB play. I mean, you've had Andy Dalton, Trevor Siemian, Jameis Winston for a few games. Michael Thomas has been out. The receiving options have not been good. Chris Olave was decent, but that was the only one they had last year. Offensive line's often been injured, so they're really, he's just not been in a good situation, but he still has looked explosive and still as good as he was in the past when he was able to make stuff happen. He didn't look like he was losing a step or anything. He was just the only thing that people were really keying in on for the most part. So I do think, he's definitely a guy that should be in the 90s. Maybe he has to kind of reprove it, so we'll see. Cordell Patterson, another guy I feel like since he's gone to the Falcons, he's been really solid, so I feel like he could be bumped up a little bit as well. Then you've got Jamal Williams at an 85, which I think's about right. He had a lot of touchdowns last year, was one of his best, maybe probably was his best year with the Lions, so that seems about right. He's not like a top 10 running back, but he's definitely a solid guy. Travis Etienne at an 84, Dameon Pierce at an 83, which is, I think, the best offensive player, weapon-wise, for the Texans. Then you've got Najee Harris at an 83. Zeke's not on here because he is a free agent, but he's also rated at 83. I saw that on Twitter, so saw some people mad about that. They feel like Najee's kind of an underrated guy. Then you've got Breece Hall, who is an 82, and David Montgomery, who's an 82. I do think Breece Hall would be higher if he didn't get hurt, because he probably was going to be Rookie of the Year before he got hurt if he would have continued on the pace he was on, so I think he'll be high 80s definitely later this year. Then you've got Javonte Williams at 82, another guy I think would be higher if he didn't get hurt. I definitely think he's going to be, another high 80s guy later this year. We got our first rookie, Bijan Robinson. I think he's probably going to be the highest rated rookie this year. We'll have to see when the QBs come out, but at an 81, usually the highest rated rookie is an 81 or an 82, so he might be the highest rated rookie this year. I'm going to go ahead and say I think that's going to be the case, because none of the receivers are that high. I don't think any of the defensive players are going to be that high, so the only people who could maybe go over him would be Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, and I don't think that's going to happen either, so I think that's your highest rated rookie. You got Cam Akers and DeAndre Swift also at an 81. I do think Swift is better than this, but he might just have to kind of prove it this year. He's kind of been an on and off guy a little bit, but I think he's super talented. Devin Singletary, Elijah Mitchell, Isaiah Pacheco at an 80, also Ramondre Stevenson. I do think Isaiah Pacheco could be a little higher. Honestly, he was really surprising last year. Then we got Brian Robinson and Damian Harris at a 79. We also got Raheem Mostert and in Rashad Penny at a 79, and Raheem Mostert is the fastest running back in the league once again. Then we've got A.J. Dillon, J.K. Dobbins, Jerick McKinnon, Samaje Perine, and Tyler Algier all at a 78. And then we've got Antonio Gibson, Deontay Foreman, and Gus Edwards at a 77. And I know some people are probably wondering about the other first-round running back, Jahmyr Gibbs. He's actually coming in at a 74. And really quickly, I just want to say thank you guys for 500K subscribers. We finally hit it. I couldn't do it without you guys. And if you've made it this far in the video, I mean, you're already pretty much a part of the family anyway. So if you're not subbed, you might as well just go ahead and sub if you're interested in Madden and other football gaming content. I would love to hit 1 million one day, and I do need your guys' help to get there. It would be greatly appreciated. So now we're going to take a look at the front 7 guys, but it's a little complicated the way EA does position still, because they do right in, left in, defensive tackle, left outside linebacker, right outside linebacker. But some of those guys are interior guys, some of the linebackers are edge rushers, and some are stand-up guys. So this is mostly going to be guys that kind of rush the pass or play on the line, but you may have a few guys in here that don't, so it kind of confuses it. They really need to change the terminology because it's just past due at this point. But obviously Aaron Donald is still a 99. He didn't have as good of a season as he normally has last year, and he missed some games, but he still was like, his pass rush win rate was still super high. He still had a lot of pressures. He might not have had an Aaron Donald, like a typical Aaron Donald year, which would be like him being a 110 overall in actuality, but he's still a 99 type player. He's just that good. Then you've got Myles Garrett and Nick Bosa at a 98. I could see the argument for Nick Bosa at 99 because he was Defensive Player of the Year. I think he's going to get it 100%. He'll get it this year if he doesn't get hurt. Myles Garrett had been a 99 the past couple years, so he's dropped down a little bit. I think Nick Bosa will be one of the first guys this year in a roster update to go to 99 because he probably is right now. Him and Michael Parsons and Myles Garrett, I mean, they're all very close, but those are the best edge rushers in the league. And you still have TJ Watt as well, obviously. TJ Watt's still right in that conversation as well. Speaking of some of those guys, Michael Parsons at a 97 is fair. I think you could argue he's the best just because he's like the most versatile. Like, he can definitely play in coverage a little bit as well, like better than some of these other guys. So I think all around he's probably the best, but 97 is fine. Chris Jones at a 96. I mean, he outside of Aaron Donald, he's like the next best interior defensive lineman, so that's fine. You could argue he should be higher, but Dexter Lawrence is kind of creeping up as well at a 94. I think that's about right, but Dexter Lawrence, really good player. Max Crosby and TJ Watt coming in at 94. Two good guys. I think TJ should be higher. He's always been like underrated in the game. I mean, I think he should be like at least like 96, 97 personally. Then you've got Von Miller at 94. Like, for me, I think at this point of Von Miller's career, I do think TJ Watt and Max Crosby are just better edge rushers. I mean, 100%. So I would say Von Miller should come down a little bit, and I think Max Crosby's probably okay where he is, but TJ Watt should probably bump up. Then you've got Cameron Hayward at a 93. He's another one of the better still interior guys. Then you've got Quentin Williams at a 93, just signed a new contract. He's definitely like in that conversation. He's climbing up. I think that's about the right number for him. Jonathan Allen, he's kind of right there with Jonathan Allen, so I think that's right. Joey Bosa still a 91. I saw some people have issue with this, saying he's still too high. I think he probably still has been missing some games. I can't remember, but he's really solid versus run and pass. Obviously much better as a pass rusher, but he's solid in both. I think he's still a 90 plus guy for sure. He's really good, but he has a problem staying on the field sometimes. Then you've got DeMarcus Lawrence and Hassan Reddick at a 90. I've seen people say that Reddick should be higher. I think I agree. He could bump up a few points because last 2 years he's been really good, and last year he tore it up. You got Jeffrey Simmons and Matthew Judon at 89, Matt Milano and Rashawn Gary, also Vita Vea at 88. So Vita Vea, he might be a little low as well, but these other guys, I think that's about right. You've got Brian Burns, Cameron Jordan, DJ Reader, Daniil Hunter, and Trey Hendrickson all at 87. The one guy here I would say could bump up would be Brian Burns for sure, but I think everybody else, like, I'm a Saints fan, but Cam Jordan's he's not as good as he used to be. He's like, he's getting old, so like 87 is still really good, and I think it's fair. Even Trey Hendrickson, man, a guy I think he's usually underrated. You can maybe bump him a point or two. You've got Christian Wilkins at 86, DeForest Buckner at 86, Dre Greenlaw at an 86, Grady Jarrett at an 86, and Kenny Clark. Kenny Clark might be a little low, but nothing too crazy here. You've got Shaquille Leonard, also known as, or formerly known as Darius Leonard, also at 86. Calais Campbell, still at 85, old guy, but still a really solid player. Chase Young and Grover Stewart, Josh Allen, the pass rusher, Khalil Mack, and Zadarius Smith, all also at an 85, which I think that's about right for those guys. Like, Khalil Mack's not the dominant guy he used to be. Then you've got Derek Brown. He's like an interior guy. He's definitely starting to kind of creep his way up a little bit, young guy. Same with Gregory Rousseau, except he's an edge. He's starting to creep up too. These are like two of the younger guys. I think they were in the same draft class a couple years ago, so they're starting to kind of climb up. And then you've got Javon Hargrave at an 84 as well. You've got Josh Sweat and Logan Wilson also at an 84, Daron Payne, Jalen Phillips, John Franklin Myers, Michael Pierce, Harris, Randy Gregory, all also at an 83. Don't think I have too much problem with those guys right there. And then you've got Alex Highsmith, Eric Armstead, Chandler Jones at an 82. Chandler Jones definitely, he'd been like 90 plus for years, but last year he definitely took a big step back last year. 82 feels like maybe a little too low. Like I still think he's solid, like more like 84, 85, but he definitely is not what he used to be a few years ago. And we got Leonard Williams, Montez Sweat, and TJ Edwards also at an 82. I would say, I think all three of those guys could bump up a couple points personally. Aiden Hutchinson at an 81 feels a little low as well. I feel like he was really good as a rookie. We've got Wise Jr., we've got Danico Autry, Perryman, Ed Oliver, Fletcher Cox, Harold Landry also at 81. Fletcher Cox, man, he was so dominant for a while. Not quite the guy he used to be. We'll see what he does this year though. Then to kind of finish this off here, we've got Josh Uche at an 81, BJ Hill, Brandon Graham, another guy that's just getting old, Carl Lawson, can't stay on the field, Dalvin Tomlinson, and Kayvon Thibodeau, also Shaquille Barrett, all those guys come in at an 80. Shaquille Barrett, I don't know, I don't remember how he did last year, so maybe this isn't too low, but it feels low based on where he's normally rated. Carl Lawson, I think, is probably better than this, but he's just never on the field. And then you got Bradley Chubb, Emmanuel Ogbah. Then we've got Bradley Chubb, Emmanuel Ogbah. We got Frankie from the Panthers here. Don't know how to say his last name. I'm not good with names, so, you know, it's just, it is what it is. But they're all at a 79. Bradley Chubb, it feels low, but I mean, he really has never, like, kind of lived up to the hype fully. Maybe a little too low, I don't know, but I wouldn't put him too much higher either. I'd put him at like 81 or 82 maybe. Now we're going to look at the offensive tackles. Lane Johnson and Trent Williams coming in at 98. Trent Williams is not in the 99 club anymore, which is surprising. Lane Johnson, I think, is probably going to get there for, I think, his first time later this year. He's just been so good. Both of those guys are liable to jump up to 99 at some point this year. Then you've got Laramie Tunzel at a 95. Andrew Thomas, Tristan Wirfs at a 92, which I think that's about right. Teron Armstead still at 91. David Bakhtiari and Ronnie Stanley at 90s. Ryan Ramczyk 89. Tyron Smith at an 89. I don't have too much of a problem with these. Like number wise, if you want to be like nitpicky, but I think kind of the order that most of these guys are in, a little biased. I think I would say maybe Ryan Ramczyk should be like a 90, but I think this is about right for who are the best tackles in the league right now. Maybe you could bump Andrew Thomas a little as well, but I think this is about right. Then you've got Jordan Mailata, Colton Miller at an 87, Brian O'Neill, Penei Sewell at an 86, Christian Darrisaw, Rashawn Slater at an 85, Taylor Moton at an 84, Orlando Brown, Taylor Decker, and Trent Brown at an 83. Then you've got Braden Smith, Charles Leno Jr., Jake Matthews, and Rob Havenstein at an 82. Deion Dawkins, Garrett Bowles, Lael Collins at an 81. Jack Conklin, Mike McGlinchey at an 80. And DJ Humphries at a 79. Now we're going to look at the guards, and we have our next 99 overall for the first time in his career, Zach Martin. I'm surprised it took this long because he's been far and away the best guard in the league for a while. He's always been like 97, 98 every year, religiously. And they finally, I guess, just gave him the nod. Like he should have probably been a 99 years ago, to be honest, but he's finally there. Then we've got Chris Lindstrom at a 93, Joel Bitonio and Quentin Nelson at a 92, Joe Thuney at an 89. For this top five, I think, again, probably right, but I would probably bump Quentin Nelson a little bit. I feel like Quentin Nelson is the second best, honestly. Chris Lindstrom's really good, though. I feel like Quentin Nelson's like a 95 type guy, but other than that, I mean, those are probably the best five right now. Then you've got Elton Jenkins at an 87, Wyatt Teller at an 86. Going to the next page here, Brandon Sheriff at an 83, Landon Dickerson and Trey Smith at an 82, Ben Powers at an 81, Alex Kappa, Austin Corbett at an 80, also James Daniels at an 80, Elijah Vera Tucker, Laken Tomlinson, and Robert Hunt all at a 79. I feel like Elijah Vera Tucker is way better than that. That one's kind of surprising. I feel like, man, maybe I don't know ball. I feel like he's like a mid-80s guy, like at least like 84, 85, at least. I don't know. And then we've got centers, and we know Jason Kelsey is always going to be, I mean, he's been the top center for a while now, but 92 feels crazy low. Like the center ratings are always pretty low though. As you could see, like the first page of centers here, we're already into the 79s when you get to the bottom spot. Centers for some reason are just not, it doesn't feel like their ratings are weighted the same way as other offensive linemen, because Jason Kelsey is not saying 99, but like definitely 95 plus. Creed Humphrey at a 90, I would probably bump him a point or two as well, but I think it's just something with the overall formula and how it affects centers, because they're always just so much lower. Then you've got Corey Lindsley and Frank Ragnow at 88, Ryan Jensen at 87. I will say I think the top five guys are about right. I think David Andrews probably has a case though, like he should be a little higher up than 83. Like he has a case to be around where Jensen is. Connor Williams at an 80, I'd probably bump him a little bit. Ted Karras at an 80, Tyler Lindenbaum at an 80, and then we have Cody Whitehair at a 79. Then we've got Eric McCoy at a 79 as well, again, by a Saints fan, but he's always super underrated in this game. He's the 10th rated center in the game, which I'm fine with that. I think he's like a 7 to 10 type guy, but it's just 79 is just not really indicative of how he plays. But again, the center ratings are just so low. So like compared to other offensive linemen, this is probably more like a 84. Like, the centers are just rated so low. Mitch Morse is a 79 as well. Got Connor McGovern at a 77, Ryan Kelly at a 77, Garrett Bradbury 76. And yeah, I mean, these guys, like, they're just so low. It's like it almost feels like they suck, but you know, they don't suck that bad. It's just the ratings are just super low for some reason with these guys. Now, if you want to see me go over all of the wide receiver ratings for Madden 24, make sure you check out this video right here on the screen.